Hi, welcome to this Dronedesk user guide video. In this video, we're going to cover Google Calendar integration. So at the moment, Calendar is set up to display jobs within Dronedesk. So I guess what would be really useful would be if you could integrate your Google Calendar, assuming you use that for scheduling other appointments in your business. If you could integrate those appointments into this view as well, so that you avoid conflict or diary clashes. The functionality of the calendar is covered in a separate video, so the way to get to that is just go to this calendar view and then click on the profile and help menu item, and then the video covering functionality of this calendar will pop up. Okay, so to integrate your Google Calendar takes a little bit of setting up. So go to Profile Settings and then scroll down a little in the Integrations section, and then you'll see Google Calendar. And there's two things you need for this to work. One is a Google Calendar API key, and the second is Google Calendar ID. Getting the Calendar ID is the most straightforward bit, so I'll cover that first, and then I'll come back to the API key. Right, so Google Calendar ID, you need to head over to your Google Calendar, and what you'll need to do is whichever calendar you want to integrate. Let's do the Skyview imagery one here. And scroll down to access permissions and then make available to public. Make sure that's ticked. You'll get a warning, and then make sure the drop down is set to see all event details. So once it's saved as public, then scroll down a little further and you need to grab the calendar ID from the integrate calendar section. So that's this ID here, and you need to copy and paste that into the calendar ID field. So the next bit is to get a Google Calendar API key. This is slightly more involved, but it's fairly straightforward if you follow the instructions. If you click follow the instructions here, you'll get a pop-up which takes you through the detail of how to do this, but I'll run through it manually now just so you get a view of what it looks like. So click on go to Google Developer Console, and then if you haven't got any projects set up at the moment, you need to click new project. So let's create one for the sake of demonstration. Let's call it demo project. Let's call it demo project. Just set it to no organization and then click create. And then click view project. Okay, so you can now see we're in the demo project. Then click on go to APIs overview and click on Enable APIs and Services. You get a list of all the Google APIs here. It might look a bit overwhelming, but don't worry about it. It's perfectly straightforward. Just scroll down until you find Google Calendar API, and then click Enable. There's no charge for using this API, so don't worry, you're not going to suddenly start seeing charges for using this. Okay, so we've now enabled the Google Calendar API. All we need to do now is get an API key, head over to Create Credentials on the right, and then you want to skip this Add Credentials to your project. Just click on API key here. You can give it a name if you want to, but just leave that as default. You can apply restrictions to the API key if you want to, although that's optional. If you do want to restrict access just to Dronedesk, then you just need to enter dronedesk.co.uk / so an asterisk wildcard.dronedesk.co.uk / and then a wildcard again, and then a second one for dronedesk.io / asterisk. Okay, so that will ensure that only Dronedesk has access to this API, and then click create. Okay, so our API key is being created. Here it is. So that's the API key. Just click the copy. You'll get a message saying it's copied to the clipboard. Head back to Dronedesk. Let's close the instructions for a minute, and then paste that API key into that field. Okay, and then the next step is just to make sure it's working. So click test access, and you'll get a message saying, well, hopefully you'll get a message saying your calendar has been saved. So if I now head back to my calendar and create a dummy appointment in the Skyview imagery, calendar, call it test event for tomorrow, and go to jobs, the calendar, and there's our Google Calendar event showing up alongside all our jobs that are already within Dronedesk. And you can view that calendar event by clicking on it. So head back to the settings. If at any time you want to disable access to that calendar or change the calendar, then you need to go through the same routine again. You don't need to create a new API key. That API key will exist against your account now, so you can use it for any calendar. But if you want to integrate a different calendar, then you need to change the calendar ID. If at any point you want to remove access, then simply click revoke access and that calendar will be removed. If you get stuck, there's written instructions which you saw earlier, so click follow instructions and there's step-by-step instructions here if you get stuck at any point. So at the moment, the calendar is only used for jobs, but in the future, then it'll be integrated into the dashboard to give you a view of your week or your day to help you plan things. Okay, so that's Google Calendar integration. Hope it's helpful. I'll speak to you soon. Cheers.